Hello and welcome to the Warwickshire Rural Hub short video. I'd like to introduce Thomas Maynard, who was last year's winner of the Forsyth Lapwing trophy. We normally are privileged with being allowed to have a farm visit on the winner's farm to see all the environmental work they do, but obviously this year we've been unable to. So we're going to have a bit of a mini virtual tour and a discussion with Tom to find out what he's doing here at Hatton Farms. I was really impressed by all the different things that you're doing environmentally, the quality of them and the different bits and how you are integrating that into your food production. So Thomas, when did you first get involved in environmental stewardship here at Hatton Farms?
Around 2006 we started with HLS scheme, which lasted 10 years, and then we've been doing the mid-tier for 4 years. It's called Warwickshire Farm, barely a straight edge to a field, so I use stewardship to straighten up fields, to buffer ditches.
But what sort of those environmental options are you using on the farm?
Okay, we have quite a mix from legume fallow, which it's the first time we've used it the last 4 years, and there's about 70 acres of that, which is a rotational option. But the main ones are wild bird mixes. We have 30 acres of those. We have buffer strips, 40 kilometres of buffer strips, 4-metre buffer strips. And then there's AB1 and AB8, which are flower mixes.
Putting all these different sorts of habitats in, have you seen an increase in the wildlife here, different bird species, or are you just increasing bird numbers? Or, what benefits are you seeing?
I'm part of the Ardent Wildlife Network, and through that we have a guy called Glenn Cart, who comes here weekly to count bird numbers, and he's been doing it from February onwards, and so we have a pretty good idea numbers of birds and how successful it's working. So we're getting feedback in that respect. One of the biggest things we're finding is the supplementary feeding. About 7 or 8 years ago, the farm was used, one of 6 farms in the country, which to experiment how successful supplementary feeding would be. And we were a farm which didn't supplementary feed. 3 farms were used to supplementary feed, and from that information, that's where it's been carried into the HLS. And we're using about 6 tons of feed now, bird feed, through the winter, through to the end of April, and I think that's probably the biggest effect on the wildlife of the chaffinches and linnets, and the numbers have really improved since then.
You talked about taking quite a lot of land out of production, straightening, awkward corners and things like that. How's this impacted on your profitability of the crops that you're growing? Because doesn't that mean that taking land out, you're reducing your total yield on the farm? How's it?
Yeah, well, in fact, it improves my profitability in the fact, for example, I think we'll be showing a drone picture of a field. It's a 30-odd acre field. And within there, I've got 3 options. It covers the whole field. It's a field which has got no drainage, very poor drainage. The land is tricky to farm. By putting stewardship in, I know my income. It will cover its rent on there, and I know every year it will make a profit. And a year like we've just had is a classic example that it's going to be probably one of the most profitable fields on the farm for it. And over the 5 years, I find that generally it wipes its face, the stewardship does, and competes well because it's on the poorest parts of the farm. And therefore, by growing stewardship on the poorer parts of the farm, I'm growing crops on the better parts of the farm, and therefore my gross margin over the farm is increased. I can use the stewardship to straighten up field edges, take out trees. We have over 50 infield trees on this farm, so I can use stewardship to take out certain trees, and therefore my farming becomes quicker and more efficient, improves my timeliness, so it's a win-win on both sides.
And judging it last year, I was really taken back by the quality of some of the habitats that you have and your detail in managing them. Do you manage it like a crop? Do you see it in that same way?
I suppose I do, in the respect that financially it's no better to the farm if we throw the seed in the ground and it doesn't come, but we find it's where we work, and you get a bit of pride when you've got a crop that looks well. So we try and establish it well, we try and control the weeds in it, and also we put fertiliser on it. We're allowed to put 50 kilos of nitrogen on a wild bird mix. And to be honest, by putting the nitrogen on, it improves the weed control, because the crop we want can outcompete the weeds, and it just works a lot better.
It was interesting to hear about what you're doing in the wider community and encouraging people in to come and see the farm and have a look at the environmental work that you do, and also talk about the food production. When did you get involved in that, and who do you have here visiting the farm? Okay,
we grow wheat for Warburtons, and through the Countryside Trust, they bring school children here once a year, and they go around and have a look at the stewardship, look at the insects and the wildlife, and trying to get connection between what we grow on the farm, the wheat actually grow on the farm, to where it ends up baking bread. And it's good PR that they see that we're not all what farms are trying to do with the environment. Also, we're sited the farm is, it's urban farming. We have a lot of public who walk around on footpaths and such like, and I think it's good PR for farming to see these wildflowers and these bird mixes, winter bird mixes, and also the supplementary feeding we do. They're realising now that we're getting feedback from people saying, and they're reporting what birds they're having, so they can see numbers. And I think it's never a bad thing for farming to have a people seeing that there's a positive side. It's not just take from the farms.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for your time, Thomas. Very sorry we couldn't have a proper farm walk this year, but fingers crossed, hopefully we might be able to have another opportunity sometime in the future.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Jane Hampson. I am the coordinator of Warwickshire Rural Hub. I'd just like to congratulate Tom for winning the Forsyth Lapwing Award last year. Really sorry we couldn't come for the farm walk this year, but hopefully we can come.
Yep, you're very well welcome next year. Come along.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'd also like to thank Syngenta for their continuing sponsorship of the award. We've actually rebranded it for next year. The award is now called the Rural Hub Environmental Farming Award. We're going to launch it in about March 2021, so if you're interested in entering, can you please contact me at the office. If you email me on info@ruralhub.org.uk, then I'll be able to send you an application form.